What's going on, guys? I'm down here in Islamorada. I'm at the houseboat, the Mystic, where we live on here on our houseboat. And in this video, I want to go over a couple things. One, we're going to go over liveaboard, boat slips, some of the options in this area. I've had some of you guys reach out to me and ask me some questions, so I'm going to try to address them in this video. Also, I'm going to share with you a meal that I'm cooking here. I'm cooking a lobster tail, a massive lobster tail from a lobster that I caught the other day on that Florida resident day. But it was huge. It was 20 inches long. And I'm also going to go over some lobster fun facts because, you know, we caught that big lobster and we kind of started talking amongst ourselves like, well, how old are they? How, you know, and all the different questions that got brought up with that big lobster. So I kind of did some research, so I got some fun facts on that. Start with this meal right here. So like I said, that lobster was pretty big. This tail is huge. The tail alone is 11.5 inches. And what I do is in a little tray here, I got a little butter. I put just a little bit of dill in it, just enough for the flavor. I'm kind of just drizzling that butter over this massive tail, and I'm kind of flipping it back and forth, as you can see here. I'll put it on the meat side down for a little bit, but not too awful long. And I got some lemon and limes and that little bit of dill and that butter just kind of all squeezed together. I'm just slowly putting it over there every now and then I'm going to put it on it at the end. So, like I said, we caught this big lobster, and it really made us start thinking, asking different questions. So I kind of started researching it. They start almost south of Cuba. All those waters down from there, they start as like a larva, and they actually, a lot of them get released into the currents and eventually make their way up here. And they can tell actually what lobsters have made it from what currents to our areas from like doing DNA tests. But what they do have a problem with is, now I'm talking about Florida spiny lobster. There's a lot of different species, but ours in particular, those can live up to 15 years. Now, they usually only average, I think it was like 2 pounds is what they average. Now, this one here was a massive bigger one, but they can grow up to 24 inches in length. And this one here was 20 inches in length. So, yeah, I really kind of wanted to get an idea of how old this guy was. But all the research stuff that I found from different universities doing stuff, they have a hard time deciphering how old they are with their age and their size, you know, in relation to each other, because you would think it would just kind of go hand in hand like fish. But I guess these lobsters, depending on their environment, if they're in really perfect conditions where the water's the right temperature, the feed source is the perfect, and they're not getting beat up. Like if they get injured and hurt a couple legs or something, I guess that really slows their growth down. So they really haven't figured out a true and tried way to see how old these things are, but they are pretty sure that they get up to about 15 years old. So, I mean, this guy here could have been 10, 12 years old because, I mean, 24 inches long, and this dude was 20. He was getting up there. Just for example, and I'll show you a picture in here, a typical keeper lobster is probably just under 8 inches long. And I think the one that I'm going to show you in the picture, that lobster was 9 inches long, and he was a keeper lobster. And this guy's tail was like 11.5 inches. 1 to 3 times a year, they molt, which means they actually, and bear with me, I'm not a biologist, so if I'm saying some of this wrong, guys, I'm going to try to say it good enough where you can understand it. But they actually release their shell and have a new shell that grows underneath them. And sometimes if freshly molted lobster, they'll be kind of soft. Well, that's because that old shell got kicked off. The new shell's underneath it, and it hasn't really hardened yet. And actually, this guy, I don't know if you could see it still. Yeah, you kind of can. I'm gonna show the camera here. Pull the camera up here. If you look right here, that little orange, see that coming away there? He actually had like a real soft skin under his shell, and you can see the skin there. And he was actually getting ready to start developing his undershell, I guess, to grow again. So that's pretty cool. It's a cool little fun fact. But they do that 1 to 3 times a year, but only for the first 7 years is what they found out. After that, I think they only molt like once a year after they're 7 years old. So they do know something about their growth and age and stuff, but I guess the conditions alter so much they haven't got a true formula to figure it out. I think the biggest Florida spiny lobster ever caught, I didn't put it on my notes here, but I think they said it was like 26 pounds. When I first grabbed this guy, I thought he might have been like, I don't know, 4 pounds, 5 pounds, but I didn't weigh him. This lobster is getting pretty close. I'm gonna finish it up. I'm gonna move over to the table and we'll start talking about some of these boat slips. Before we get into the boat slips, I wanted to get a bite of this because one of the other things I've always been told, like, those really big lobsters are no good. They're tough and they don't taste as well, so let's give it a shot. Super tender, super flavorful, tastes just as good as a 2-pound lobster, a regular keeper size lobster. So, about these slips. Biggest thing, people always asking about where to look, how to find them. You can do your own research online. I think the biggest advice that I could give somebody is get yourself a realtor to look into. I'm sorry, I just realized something. If you look over my shoulder, there's the Mystic, but if you look down there, I kept the head of that massive lobster and I got him sitting there, and I had him sitting there next to me over the other video, but I just realized he's watching me while I was eating his tail, and that's kind of weird. Anyways, back to getting a realtor. Have a realtor on standby like Leslie or anybody else that has their ear to the ground and is familiar with the different marinas, and they can tell you the goods and bads about a different marina, the HOA fees. Is it a quieter one? Is it a little more busier? This one's a little more busier because we have the restaurant. There, you can hear the music in the background. It's got the bar and restaurant going. We love that aspect about this. We have free, quick access to food if we don't feel like cooking. We like the atmosphere. We do get people walking up and down the docks here checking the boats out, and we kind of embrace that and like socializing with them. But some of them are a little more quieter. Some of them are a little cheaper and a little bit more, they might be more expensive, and there's a reason for that. You need to find out why. And somebody who's very familiar with it, like my wife and I, could handle those questions probably to steer you towards something that you might be more satisfied with. We love this lifestyle. You can see the Mystic over my shoulder here right now. We like this atmosphere. It's relaxing, it's chill. We like the fun of it. It's not that we don't go unscathed, though. Owning a boat does require a lot of work, but that doesn't mean that it's not doable. Even if you're not that knowledgeable about it, there's a little bit of a learning curve. There's resources. Everybody learns their own way, but that's one thing I want to make you aware of. It is, in my opinion, a cheaper way to live, and people say, no, it's not a cheaper way to live, kid. You just, these slips like this one in particular, one of these over here just sold the other day. I think it was $250 or $260. It was one of the smaller slips, but that's not cheap in a lot of people's eyes. But when you're living in paradise, it is. If you're living in the Keys, it is. And that slip went up for sale at, I think, 8 in the morning, but it was sold in 8 hours. Done. The deal was done in 8 hours. 3 offers. It happened so fast. So get yourself somebody with their ear to the ground that can help you with that. That's the biggest thing that I could recommend, and not just in the Keys, anywhere across the country if you want to be on the water. We're very blessed to be here. We love it. I can't say enough about that. Look forward to every day, new adventure, getting out in a little boat, going out in the throughout the Keys. We're in Isla Mirada. It's our favorite key. It's kind of a blend of everything. But that's about it, guys. Just wanted to share all this with you. If you got any questions or concerns, let me know. But I'm going to get back to this lobster because I'm starving and I keep smelling it. But thanks for watching, guys. And remember, salty bushwhacker, it's a way of living. Cheers.